Hello and welcome to the Weal Policy Podcast. I'm Craig DL. I'm the head of policy at Weal, and today I'm joined by a very special guest. I'm joined by John Young from the Dovesdale Action Group, a campaign group that's actually quite local to me, fighting against the plans for a new incinerator that has been proposed for the area. Welcome, John. How are you?
Hi, fine, Craig. Thanks for having me along.
So this, as we're going to go through this conversation, while this is politics that is literally on my doorstep, this is something that's going to be affecting the local area quite dramatically. This is going to be a much wider national campaign as well, and we're going to go into that as we go through the conversation. But John, can you just tell me a little bit about the history of the Dovesdale Action Group, how it started, and how you got involved with it?
Sure, Craig. It was back in 2010. There was a application for another incinerator adjacent to the current proposal, which was known as Dovesdale Farm, and that was by a company called ScotGen, who proposed putting an incinerator there. As a community, to be honest, at that time we didn't know much about incineration and what the issues were surrounding that, but we certainly knew that this was something that was going to have a major impact, certainly on the landscape initially, and certainly visually as well. So our initial concern was from a community point of view, that what is this coming to our community and what is the impact on the kind of landscape. However, it very quickly transpired when we actually found out the detail of what this actually meant to us, not just in terms of the landscape and the visual intrusion, but the actual consequences of incineration and what that meant in the wider context of a number of areas. We then soon became supporters actually of a wider campaign actually against incineration in itself, due to the impact it's had. So there was community meetings had at the time, 2011, and without getting into too much of the detail, we actually found ourselves in a situation where before too long the campaign spread. We got a lot of national coverage as well as local coverage, and we actually collated over 20,000 individual letters. That's not a petition, that's individual letters of objection to this proposal, which at the time was the largest objection to any planning application in the whole of Scotland. And when you consider communities like Stonehouse only had 5,000 people, Kirkby Hill, Blackwood maybe another 3,500, that was quite an incredible statement from the community as to their position on incineration. So that's where it got to in terms of the plan application. The plan application, unfortunately, was passed by the then Council South Lanarkshire narrowly, and consent was given. However, that wasn't the end of it. From the campaign point of view, we decided that this was such an important issue that we start to raise the profile of it both nationally, and secondly we'd also start to then pursue ScotGen, who then had another incinerator down in Dumfries at the time, and we started highlighting the breaches of its PPC licence, that's its licence to operate, and lo and behold the place went on fire eventually and was closed down. So very appropriate, you could say, with incineration, but it did highlight a problem within incineration, that it is a dangerous industry and these fires are not that uncommon. So that was the kind of the background to where we were 10 years ago. ScotGen went out of business. The application did not proceed at that time. Lo and behold, 10 years later, we're back here again with another application, now for the largest incinerator in Scotland by Viridor. However, I would say that in between those years, we continued to fight with other applications in Scotland, and were helpful in supporting other groups in Hamilton who fought off an application there. It has not proceeded, and also we supported a campaign at Carnbrough over North Lanarkshire as well, and we also supported other campaigns in Scotland too, because we realise that as a local campaign group, it's not just about the local impact, it's about the national impact. And if we're going to address the issues of incineration, that we need to do that at a national level. So that's the background to where we are today.